Do physical tattoos have an energetic impact on your body? Do they affect your energetic fields in any way? Hi, I'm Vlad from ReikiScoop.com, and today we're going to talk a little bit about tattoos, physical tattoos. There are also energetic tattoos, but I will mention that later. But we're talking about physical tattoos and how and if they can impact and influence our energy or energetic layers and energy, our vital energy or universal flow, universal life force energy flow in any way. Remember, I had videos about the Reiki symbols, that each Reiki symbol represents a key that opens a doorway towards a manifestation of the universal life force energy, or to the divine light, as you wish to call it. And in general, throughout history, you just have to look a little bit, generally speaking, a little bit in history, and you will see that symbols, from religious symbols, sacred symbols, spiritual symbols, they are tokens, spiritual tokens, that represent something, and sometimes they represent concepts. They are, in Japanese, they call them kotodamas. They are accumulation of concepts, spiritual concepts within one description, within one drawing. And again, symbols throughout history represented something. They connected to something. They had a significance, not only a symbolical one, a symbol having a symbolical one. It's about also meaning something particular, maybe for one person, for a group of people, for a nation, or for a religion even. So symbols do have an importance, generally speaking, that they connect to something. When you draw a symbol energetically, you activate it. It does something. When you draw it on a piece of paper, it does have an impact, but the idea is to also draw it energetically, to activate it energetically after you have drawn it, if you really want to draw it physically, like with a pen. So what happens to tattoos? How do tattoos connect to all this? Well, the thing is that we're talking about a drawing, right? It's a drawing on your skin. Doesn't seem to have much impact, does it? And perhaps it shouldn't have, except for a couple of reasons. And that's the physical one, first of all. The first one is physical, that the tattoo is actually embedded in the skin. And obviously it's going to affect the energy level, the energy field at that area of the body. So imagine if you have your whole body tattooed. The energy field will be influenced or affected, will have, I'm not going to say a crack. I want to say that it's going to be a little bit more diminished because you are punctuating the skin constantly, punctuating it, and you're affecting that energy field. It's going to be recalibrated at one point, refreshed at one point. However, from an energetic perspective, what you are drawing there represents something. And that something is not only going to be drawn like I'm drawing with a pen on my hand, a daicomio. It doesn't have the same significance, the same impact as if I embed it in my own skin. And there's a parenthesis here that I need to make, that the energetic, spiritual, and physical worlds are intertwined. They are not stacked like a sandwich on top of the other. No, they are not blended like in a mixer, like in a blend. No, they are intertwined, they are mingled. So when you embed a daicomio, let's say, Reiki symbol, I'm not going to talk about all the tattoos. I'm just going to address some of them. And when it comes to Reiki, for example, you want to draw, to tattoo a daicomio on your skin. Obviously, it's going to have a much deeper impact than if I draw it with a pen. If I have a tattoo embedded in my skin rather than having it drawing with a pen, it's going to have a much higher impact if it's a tattoo embedded in my skin, embedded in my energy field, because that tattoo is going to represent something, and that's because it's embedded. It will never go away. It will always emanate to some extent. Don't get me wrong. To some extent, it's going to emanate something, an energy and information. Everything around us, even we are made out of energy and information at a cellular level, at a microscopic level, at the very base of atoms and electrons, protons. There's energy and information. And so is within each particle of that tattoo that you are making. I'm just showing the hand because it's convenient. So it's going to have an impact. Symbols are going to have an impact. Representations are going to have an impact. Before we continue, I want to drop a quick reminder for those of you struggling to remember Reiki symbols during sessions. I know how frustrating it is to feel unsure, hesitate, and even second guess yourself instead of focusing on universal life force energy flow. I used to do the same in my early days. I would stop mid-session, scraping the bottom of my mind for symbols' meaning. Of course, I would rarely find clarity in the clutter of information. That's when I started organizing everything on paper, keeping my notes close during practice. Over time, the habit evolved into the Ultimate Reiki Symbols Guide, a practical resource with the attributes and uses of 65 Reiki symbols. It's still the guide I return to when I need insights, inspiration, and the optimum Reiki symbol for a certain situation. So, if you're tired of forgetting Reiki symbols during sessions and want to integrate them in your practice step by step, grab the digital copy on ReikiScoop or the physical book on Amazon. Now, let's return to the video. By all means, just to make it clear right now and right here, I don't have anything against tattoos. I actually like well-made tattoos. I know a lot of people who have them, and I respect that, and I really like them. And I was thinking about that at one point. I'm way past that right now. Well, almost way past it, but I really respect it and I have nothing against it. And I think people who want, of course, it's everybody's body and life. They are able to choose whatever they wish. I'm just saying, if it has an importance or impact from an energetic perspective. So coming back to that. Imagine if you represent something not that well beneficial. What's going to happen? Is it going to influence your energetic level? Yes, it is. To some extent. Especially it's going to affect your energetic level and maybe your life, especially if you are engaged in a certain practice that has a connection to that tattoo. That's because tattoos were made in the past. They are millenary. They were made in the tribes and in special communities. They represented something sacred. They were connected to the history of those people. They were connected to their culture. They had a very deep significance. I know that today they are more a fashion thing, or maybe, well, not for everybody. Some people do it because it's something sacred for them, obviously. But most of the people, as much as I've seen lately, they use it as a more decorative, element, which is okay. I'm just saying how it's viewed these days. Again, some people keep this sacredness opened. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to say that it does have an impact on energetic level, and it can affect your life. It can influence your life. I'm not saying that you should tattoo or not tattoo if you don't want. No, don't get that. Don't get me wrong. And now you shouldn't go and draw tattoo on yourself only Reiki symbols or sacred beneficial symbols because those are going to help you. That's not the point. Because there's also an aesthetic part that you need to take into account, that, when you advance in age, you need to keep that tattoo quite cleansed and colored, because otherwise it's going to get muddy and green. But that's another story. So my point is that trying to keep things short, that tattoos do have an impact according to what they represent, according to your connection and what you are doing. I'm a Reiki teacher. I teach Reiki and I practice Reiki. So imagine if I tattoo a Reiki symbol, obviously my connection to that representation is going to be much deeper than someone who doesn't even know what they are drawing on their skin, what they are tattooing on their skin. Because my connection is strong, I just use that. It's embedded within me. So somebody who makes a tattoo, regardless if it's beneficial or less beneficial, it's going to have an impact, especially if they practice something regarding that representation, that tattoo. So what if you made a tattoo, you received a tattoo that you don't want to have it anymore and you cannot get it off? Well, not paying attention to, not resonating with that element that you have tattooed, because again, there is a connection between what you are doing in your life and if the activities and engagement is connected to that tattoo, is going to have a higher impact. As I mentioned, I don't want to repeat, but that's the main idea. So if you don't resonate anymore with that tattoo, if you don't pay attention to it, if you don't engage in whatever that tattoo was representing, chances are that it's not going to affect that much your life or energetic level, energy fields that much. So there's also, if you're a Reiki practitioner, there's an easy step that you can follow. You can activate your palms with the Reiki symbols. Place your hand on the place where the tattoo is made, is drawn, and send universal life force energy to disintegrate the negative energy and information that it can or may emanate into your energy fields. And that's it. And you, of course, you don't have to do that each and every day, but do it from time to time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you have time. And just use this. And if you feel like it's affecting you or your life because of its representation, do the same thing. I'm just pointing out to my arm. Again, it's convenient. It can be anywhere. The tattoo could be anywhere that you don't want it anymore. Of course, ideally you should, if you want to do tattoos, if you want to engage in the idea of tattoos, at least have them represent something of value to you and something of real value, something that really you can connect to, that you know it's beneficial for you and for your heart and for your life and for your evolution. It's just a suggestion. I think it would be the best way possible. And if you know that that activity, that representation is going to stick with you or your life or a good part of your life, then yeah, probably you should take this into account when if you go to a tattoo parlor to have this made on you. So in conclusion, tattoos impact the energetic layers, the energy fields, and they can, to some extent, influence your life depending on what they represent. If there's something that's totally abstract and doesn't represent anything, it doesn't represent anything. So most likely it's not going to affect you. It's just when it was created, when it was drawn on your skin, it did affect the energy field, and then you can, recalibrate it with Reiki. It's okay. You can activate symbols and place your palms, and the energy field will expand at one point again. It's going to be healthy again. So if it's not a true representation of something, if it's just a leaf from a tree, that's not going to impact. But if it's a symbol or representation of a cult or something that's religiously, spiritually, and we know their spiritual levels are different. There are higher spiritual levels, there are lower spiritual levels. So I don't judge, it's just everybody's choice. According to what it represents, it connects to what it represents, if it represents something. If it's just, as I mentioned, a stick or a leaf, or you're drawing a pen on your skin, it doesn't have any kind of significance, except maybe for you, maybe that pen has something emotional that you remember from someone dear to you. That's okay. But unless it's something connected to spirituality, something connected to maybe a religious idea, maybe a cult, maybe a sect or something like that you want to participate in, and that's okay if you wish to do that. It's your life and you have the choices ahead of you. If it's that case, then yeah, it's going to impact, it's going to influence to some extent at least your life, and it's going to influence your energetic layers, energetic fields. Other than that, I wouldn't worry that much about it. Either way, if you don't feel comfortable anymore with your tattoos and you cannot get it off, as I mentioned, you can use Reiki. From time to time, just send universal energy to it and you're going to be fine. So I hope that makes sense, because I got asked this question, as I mentioned, quite a few times, and I wanted to answer this is my perspective, my opinion, and my experience so far. Let me know if you agree with that, if you don't agree with that, or maybe if you have a different perception. I'm open to ideas. So anyways, thank you for watching until the end. Blessings to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Before you go, there's one last thing I want to share to support your Reiki journey. If you let Reiki slip into the background of your life and you're ready to bring it back, this message is for you. I know how it feels to return after a long absence and feel like you've forgotten how to connect. You go through the motions, but questions arise each time you seem to make progress. My solution was to go back to my Reiki teacher and regain my confidence and rhythm in group sessions. But when you don't have the luxury to spend time with like-minded individuals, motivation dries out. That's why I created the 21 Reiki Challenge, a free program where we practice Reiki together for 21 days. Over 2,000 Reiki enthusiasts took on the challenge to rebuild their habit and reconnect with universal life force energy. You don't have to bring Reiki back into your life all alone. Just click the link in the description below, sign up, and let's practice Reiki together. Join the 21 Reiki Challenge to return to Reiki with confidence and support.